to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go out. Welcome to my house. Play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go out. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my duck off the crib, the spot, the pad. But my house is your house if you throwing it back. Excuse me if my home draining the sad. Soon as these happy faces land, you can run with the cash. Home run, slam dunk, touchdown pass. Mi casa es tu casa, so it ain't no holding back. It's my house, just relax. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go. Cheers to this. Welcome to my house. Play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go out. Welcome to my house. You heard me? We ain't gotta go out, 'cause what? Welcome to my house. My house. What? Welcome to my house. It's my house.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alexis Glenn. I am an admissions recruiter here at Stetson, and welcome to our September open house. We are so excited to have you here this evening with us, joining us from wherever you are. Hey, we have a chat going on, so if you could drop in the chat where you're joining us from, that would be great. Tonight, we have some amazing things in store for all of you watching from home. We have some faculty members, alum, staff, and current students who are here to talk to you today, all things about Stetson. So a big thing about open house we want to get to know is what is most important to you in your college search. So we're going to drop a poll right now, and I want to see where everyone is thinking about right now in their mind. What is most important to you in your college search? Is it finding that right community for you? Is it being the right fit? Is it the academics? Is it the location? Hey, who doesn't want to come to Florida? If you're already in Florida, stay in Florida. The beaches are amazing. Or is it the cost? We want to know these things. We want to be able to help you figure this out and navigate this throughout this entire open house. So with that being said, I also want to shout out some students who are actually on this call right now or on this open house who have a birthday. We have Meadow, Haley, happy birthday to you. I hope wherever you're at, hey, sing happy birthday to these individuals. And we have some future Hatters potentially who are also had a birthday past week or upcoming. We have Lauren, Gordon, Gabriel, Basil, Riley, and Jasmine. So happy birthday to all of you. I see some people from Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. We have people from everywhere, and I'm loving it. I'm so excited, guys, to have you here tonight and for us to jump in and get started. I am here tonight with one of our great alum. Her name is Miss Christina. She is from the class of 2017. She graduated with a BBA in Business Systems and Analytics and a minor in sports management. So, hey, we want to go ahead and introduce her tonight, and we're so excited to have you here to speak with our future Hatters potentially.
Thank you so much, Alexis, for that introduction. Like Alexis just said, my name is Christina Garrica. I graduated from Stetson in 2017, and I'm from Tampa, Florida. It's such an honor to briefly speak to you all today about the school that has made such an impact on me personally and professionally. So back when I started looking at colleges, I had my heart set on going to the University of Florida. I had always grown up a Gator fan, and I had no doubt that that was where I was going to go to school. But while I was looking at UF, my twin sister was actually looking at smaller private schools, Stetson being one of them. I actually refused to go with my family on a Stetson tour. But when they got back from their visit, my mom had told me she really thought that I should at least take a look at Stetson. She was convinced that it would be the perfect fit for me, especially coming from a smaller high school. So I decided to take a chance and attend a Stetson open house. And once I set foot on campus, I knew my mom was right. Yes, I'm admitting that. I knew that Stetson was the place for me. And if we're being honest, my mom still does not let me live that down. So what really drew me to Stetson were the class sizes, the people, the opportunity to be involved in so many things, how beautiful the campus is, and the fact that at Stetson, I was more than a number. Throughout my time at Stetson, I was part of the women's golf and softball teams, in addition to other organizations such as Focus, which is Stetson's orientation program, and Pi Beta Phi, which is one of the sororities on campus. I gained so many lifelong friends and gained so many opportunities and experiences that I never thought possible. And for that, I'm forever grateful. Academically, I started out by majoring in accounting and sport business, but ended up deciding that accounting definitely wasn't for me. So that's when I changed my major to business systems and analytics and minored in sport business. Even though I had left accounting behind, I had actually started out my career in the IT audit sector for a Big Four accounting firm. But about a year and a half later, I decided that I wanted a career change and reached out to one of my former business systems and analytics professors, Dr. Woodside, who helped me to explore many different career options. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I'm now a business analyst lead for ReliaQuest, which is one of the leading cybersecurity companies in my hometown of Tampa, Florida. I am so glad that I made that career change, and I'm thankful that I could lean on one of my former professors to help me make this decision. As you can see, Stetson has still had a huge impact on me to this day. Stetson truly gave me the experiences, the relationships, and the tools necessary to grow and thrive throughout college and now in my adult life and professional career. So when you're thinking about where you would like to spend your next 4 years, I hope you give Stetson a chance. It was one of the best chances that I've ever taken. I wish you all the best with your decision and on this new journey. Go Hatters.
Thank you so much, Christina, for giving that great spiel. Hey, we want to also know there's another poll coming up. If you've had the opportunity to visit campus, just like Christina said, it was the moment that she stepped on campus that she knew Stetson was the place for her. I am so happy to now introduce our interim Vice President of Enrollment Management, Mr. Ray Null, to now talk more about you future Hatters. Hey, Ray.
Thanks, Alexis. Welcome to the roughly 600 registrants that we have on tonight. I'm incredibly excited to welcome our future Hatters from 29 states, 1 U.S. territory, and 14 countries. Stetson's uniquely situated in the hemispheric area here in Florida, giving us a unique opportunity to expand our education beyond our borders. Tonight, you're going to hear from Stetson's visionaries, students, and faculty. Whether you're a Hatter at heart or just beginning your journey with us, I hope tonight you'll be able to take away from this event our approach to learning and our commitment to actually student success. The art of teaching is practiced through programs solidly grounded in our traditions of liberal learning that stimulate critical thinking, imaginative inquiry, creative expression, and lively intellectual debate. You'll hear from faculty and students that our community thrives through small interactive classes, close student-faculty alliances, and kind of collaborative approach to providing a foundation for rewarding careers and advanced study. I'd be really curious though, in your chat right now, tell me what your area of interest is. What are you going to be a history major, an accounting major? Go ahead and actually type in chat right now what you're actually thinking about studying when you think about your next phase of life. And I'll give you guys a few minutes. I can see law, are there psychology, and any history majors out there? I'm a history major. And studied European history, political science, yes. There we go, chemistry and business. No matter what your interest is or your area of study, you're going to be able to expand your experience here at Stetson. If you haven't had a chance to view our Stetson website, there's a nugget on there called the Stetson Today. It's a great way to have a starting, exciting opportunity to understand Stetson from all the creative opportunities that staff and faculty have had. You might even find yourself traveling to Oxford University, like Senior Salvina Anchiva, who's interviewed in front of the selection committee for Global Rhodes Scholar Program, or making a presentation in the Stetson Showcase on diffusive flux study of biofilm, like Jeffrey Liu. He was a double major in molecular biology and applied mathematics. No matter what your area of interest is or what your passion may be, Stetson is a place where you can explore whatever it means to be a global citizen in the 21st century. Stetson features a vibrant community of world-class artists, 140 unique clubs and organizations, premier Division I sports, and much, much more. You'll find a home and a community in and outside of the classroom. You are the next generation of community leaders, business owners, and game changers. Students and families who want to complete the admissions process and learn more about our community should contact the admissions office. That's the first step to building a lifelong connection with the Hatter family. Now, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker. He's been with Stetson since 1999. Dr. Noel Painter is our Executive Vice President and Provost, and he leads Stetson Curricular, Instructional, and Research Affairs. He's also a faculty member in the School of Music and a recipient of the McHenry Award for Excellence in Teaching. Under his leadership, Stetson has risen to number 4 in best regional universities in the South, as rated by the U.S. News and World Report, and for the 5th time in 5 years is placed as the best college on Princeton Review's list. Please welcome Dr. Noel Painter.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much on behalf of Christopher Rolke, President, and myself, and so many faculty and staff who are here at Stetson right now. I'm really excited that you've joined us today, and big appreciation to Alexis and Christina and Ray as well for the remarks at the beginning. I had not heard what Christina was going to talk about before, but she hit on 3 incredibly important points that I hope that you're able to get a flavor of today, including our campus life and what it's like to be on campus, our academic programs and what they offer to you, and then a specific phrase that she said that I thought was so important: more than a number. So we'll talk a little bit about that. This campus is extraordinary, and today has been an extraordinary day in Florida. Just a little while ago, about an hour and a half ago, I went walking around our quad to see 6 students in hammocks strung between palm trees on a nice breezy day, about 78 degrees, with a fountain flowing and students, although masked, walking around and really enjoying what this campus offers. So it's an extraordinary place. And that phrase, more than a number, that's something that often comes out when I ask, what brings you to campus? What brings you to an open house like this today? Oftentimes, I get comments like Coach Hughes, who shows individual attention to his recruits for the football program. Or I get comments about students who have attended music camps year after year since they were in middle school and have long known that Stetson was the place that they wanted to be. Or other individual connections with people in the various programs that we offer at Stetson, programs that have been here for a long time in digital arts or chemistry, and some that are very new, like cybersecurity, human resources management, or Jewish studies. So there are a number of ways in which I expect you have had a chance to connect. And if you haven't, then I'd ask that you do your best today through the several presentations that you're going to have to engage in whatever way you can in this virtual medium. If that means that you're able to type something in the chat to ask a question and get an answer, then I think that that engagement will pay off long term. And maybe most importantly, pay attention to the people, because people really matter. There are a lot of schools that you can choose from for your higher education journey. And the people that are there are the ones who speak to what's going to happen in terms of the transformational journey that you'll go on. And parents, they speak to the level of comfort that you'll have in turning over this important time, these important developmental opportunities to a school like Stetson. So pay attention, engage as best you can, and pay attention to the people that you'll hear from. Ask questions. It wasn't that long ago where we were joining together in the kind of situations that you saw in that video that made my heart sing to see us all together, students gathering and hugging. And while we're together in a little bit of a different way now, I can't tell you the breath of relief it was to come back to campus in August, to have students on campus, to bring our staff and our faculty back together, and to begin to have what the Stetson community offers. That Stetson community is a piece of Stetson that is undeniable, and it's not something that you can excise from the Stetson experience. It's a core piece of it. It's why people choose Stetson, to have relationships with faculty, individual relationships, to have relationships with staff who support them, and their coaches who guide them with other students in a residential learning environment. that's what Stetson is. And that's why we get the kind of outcomes that Stetson has. Our outcomes, the last time we did a survey within the last year, our students are employed or continuing their education in graduate school at a higher rate than the national average. Our students in majors that you would be surprised, music. I'm in the School of Music. I know the concern of students and their parents in terms of employment. We had 95% of our graduates in the School of Music last year who were pursuing a job or graduate school achieved that goal. 95% when the national average is 86. Extraordinary, almost 100% in accounting, 94% in psychology. These are extraordinary numbers that speak to the kind of education that we offer at Stetson. And the outcomes, I think, come through the interaction with people that you'll hear about today. So it'll be really interesting when we have our faculty panel and when you talk with students to hear more about the kind of connections that they've made with students and the successes that their students have seen in their life. I'm now going to ask Lua Hancock to join me on the screen as well. Lua Hancock is my partner in learning at Stetson. Both she and I work together to hold a high standard for academic success for the students. And Dr. Hancock, if we're going to have high levels of expectations for our students, then we need to have high levels of support for their success. And that is an area that Dr. Hancock oversees exceptionally well. Dr. Hancock, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Open House. We're happy to see you. My name is Lua. I've been at Stetson for about 10 years. And like many of you, I had the opportunity to choose this place for many of the same reasons that you will. The ability to have intellectual partners, to live in a really cool community on a beautiful campus, and to oversee some areas that offer you support. So reporting to me are areas like academic success and tutoring, public safety, housing, counseling, the health center, wellness and recreation, on and on. Basically anything that you need to support yourself while you're here at Stetson.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. We want to talk a little bit about the educational, the learning side of Stetson. And importantly, there are a few pieces that need to fall into place to have the kind of outcomes that Stetson promises you. So one of those is general education. The distinct curriculum that we have, and whoever's controlling the slide, go ahead and move through these different things on the slide. General education is not something that students tend to attend to as they're thinking about an institution that they join, but it's an essential part of what students learn that is going to eventually get them a job. And at Stetson, we have a number of aspects of our distinctive general education curriculum: personal and social responsibility, critical thinking, information literacy, writing well, being able to communicate well. That's really important to all of our schools, colleges, majors, and minors. That aspect is a core part of your success, and it's something that we pay particular attention to.
So I'll tell you two things that are also really great about the curriculum is that it's the parts that we ask you to engage in academically, but also when we look at career studies over the past decades, this is what employers are looking for. They are looking for leaders, for thinkers, for change agents, for people who have worked in diverse teams. And it also allows you the ability to be an educated citizen in our world, which I can't think of a more timely time in history to be an educated citizen in our world. So as Dr. Painter mentioned before, over 91% of our students are at the grad school, usually of their choice, or in a job in their field within 6 months of graduation. And much of that has to do with, certainly, they've received the CPA accounting exam that they need or the credentials that they need in their area. But often it's because of this. It's because they can speak, they have knowledge of other cultures, they know how to work with numbers, they're good writers, they're good thinkers, and they're ready to be change agents in the world.
On the next slide, you'll see a number of majors, some of which may connect with you, and this slide may give you a good deal of anxiety if you don't feel like you know exactly what direction that you're going to go in. Finding a major at an institution is important to the extent that it gives you a home. It gives you a circle of people who are like-minded. It gives you an area to dive deep into and learn more about. And maybe some of these words resonate with you: accounting, biochemistry, physics, digital art. At the same time, it's okay not to know exactly yet what it is you want to focus on. I mean, in truth, when my father graduated from college, he could expect to find a job and have that job for the rest of his life, to have one job. And he pretty much did. He went into the Army, and then he took the CPA exam, and he was an accountant his entire life. Now, your generation is likely to have 7 jobs by the time you're 32 years old. So the flexibility that you need, that comes both from the general education learning that we do, as well as the deep learning that you do in a major, is essential. Those things need to come together, and that's part of what we foster at Stetson.
And when you're here, what you're looking for is to create for yourself a certain amount of communities, little or big bubbles, maybe your major, your residence hall floor, a clever organization that you're engaged in. And the real magic is the cross-pollination of these things. The creative, and some of you have already put in the chat some of the creative combinations like chemistry and business. That is so Stetson, that person already. The fact that you know how these things go together. And I had the ability to learn some of that as well. So when I went to college and thought I'd be a theater major, and then a few weeks in, I realized, man, these people are really into theater. Like, I think I just want to do it for fun. I was able to become a psychology major. And as I learned more in my race courses, I was able to add an Africana Studies minor. And I ended up graduating with something I never thought I would have come in with, but a huge set of skills that has made me successful, both in my graduate studies and in my career. That cross-pollination, that ability to take different courses from different fields is not just available to you at Stetson, it's built in to happen on purpose.
At the top of this slide, you see 3 big areas: music, business, arts and sciences, and then there's the law school as well, about 150 miles away. On the next slide, you see pictures that represent the kinds of experiences that we'll find in each of these areas. Now, what I hope that you see in these pictures is perhaps not what you might expect from a large state school, because the kind of experience that you should expect from Stetson is one that develops a relationship with a student that's maybe going to last a lot longer than their time at Stetson. I mean, indeed, the personal interaction, the senior research experience that our students have, you know, nationwide, about 20% of students have a senior research experience. At Stetson University, 100%, every student has a capstone experience. That's how important we think that one-on-one interaction with faculty is, to have that at the peak of your experience in your senior year. So whether you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, or the School of Business Administration, or the School of Music, these are the types of experiences that you can expect to have with your faculty.
And there's also opportunity for all other kind of things that we know are impactful in your life, like the ability to study abroad, like the ability to do an internship, even micro internships these days. Smaller internships have become popular. We have lots of online internships at this point, as we're able to navigate the online and the face-to-face environment. And so these opportunities are there for you. Also, I would say that we want to challenge you a little bit inside and outside the classroom. We want you to be thinking. If you're in that learning zone, you're in your right place at Stetson. But because we offer that challenge, as Dr. Painter stated before, we offer lots of support. So lots of built-in writing tutors, biology tutors, counseling center, health services, peer mentors. A lot of our students are the first in their family to graduate from college, and we have a mentor program particularly for them. So we promise you 2 things. We will challenge you, and we will offer the support needed for you to get through that challenge.
The last slide that we have for you in this part of the presentation is a picture of marbles. And we have a faculty member, Greg Sapp, who joined us in 2006. And as part of his work with the Bonder program, he talks about this story regarding marbles. Dr. Hancock, would you tell that story?
Yeah, so I've really been impacted by this story since I first heard it 10 years ago. And I love to tell it to people because it's such a good summary of what Stetson is in one small story. So when students graduate, Dr. Sapp gives them 1 marble. And when they graduate, he tells them that when you come to Stetson, you come with a pocket full of marbles. Each one of us does. And that if you're doing Stetson right, you're putting the marbles out on the table every single day. And everyone else is putting their marbles out on the table every single day. And at the end of a class period, a late night conversation in the residence hall, or clever organization meeting, you're picking up the marbles that you choose. Maybe they're some of your own, but maybe someone else's looked shinier. It was a different idea, something that you haven't thought about, something that you learned from someone from a different background, perspective, a different country, a different religion, a different political ideation. And when you graduate, he says you might have all the same marbles that you came with, but you chose them purposefully every day. More likely, you'll have a mixture of marbles, a couple you brought with you, and many others that you picked up along the way. And some of you might have all new marbles, things that you never thought about or considered, but you will have a diversity of beautiful marbles in your pocket. And I always love that story because it shows the engagement that we're going to be expecting of you and the transformational journey that if you're doing Stetson right is bound to happen.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. It's been nice of you all to put up with Dr. Hancock and myself for this much time, but the real thing, the real excitement, I think, is hearing directly from those people who work so closely with our students. And so I would like to invite Dr. Bakamitsos and Dr. Hall, Dr. Larson and Dr. Tanner to turn their cameras on and join us on screen. These are 4 of our exceptional faculty members. And professors, would you introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Noel. I appreciate that. So I'm Ben Tanner, and I've been at Stetson since 2016. I'm associate professor in the Department of Environmental Science and Studies, and I'm also department chair there. I study wetland environments and enjoy getting my students out in the field, and actually sometimes in muddy wetlands. And our department actually prides itself on working on current issues like environmental change and on getting students directly involved in our work. Just as an example of this, this semester I've had students out at Wakaiwa Spring doing soil cores. We were masked and distanced. And I've also had students out at our aquatics center on Lake Beersford working on water quality issues. So we enjoy working with new students, freshmen, all the way to seniors that are working through our capstone experience. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's Andrew Larson here at my studio in the music building. Here I serve as the Associate Dean. My area of training and expertise is in the directing of choirs and the teaching of singing. If you love music, you'll love it at Stetson because there's music all over the place, not just in the School of Music, but among many of our faculty members who perform and who rehearse, and students and staff members as well. So if you have, a saxophone, a violin, a voice, when you graduate from high school and go on to college, make sure you bring it with you to Stetson, and we'll give a go at it here. Thrilled that so many of you were here. It's an interesting time with the universities all around the world moving through the different tiers of what we can do. I've been so thrilled at Stetson to see how resilient the students are and how the faculty have engaged through creative solutions through this time of COVID. Of course, we don't sing in large groups, but we sing in small groups, and that's been really fun. And I dug up some historic music that I hadn't done in years and years, and it's working perfectly for our smaller ensembles. I'm in my 19th year. It's been a great place to be.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Yorgos Bakamitsos, and I'm on the marketing faculty in the School of Business. I'm also the Associate Dean of the School of Business. So I get to work a lot with students both inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. I joined Stetson in 2013, and my area of interest, my passion is consumer behavior. What really kind of excites me is trying to understand how people process information and how they make choices. So I'm the odd person you'll find in a grocery store talking to people trying to understand, why do you pick this bottle of ketchup as opposed to this bottle of ketchup? And what about this packaging and that packaging? What about this color? So I think that Stetson is the environment where you can pursue your interests, no matter what your interests are. The small size and the strong interdisciplinary environment that we'll have will give you the opportunity to combine stimulation from different areas and come up with the right mix of stimuli for you to have a meaningful experience. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Melinda Hall and I've been at Stetson since 2013. I'm a part of so many different programs that make Stetson such a wonderful place to work and live and be a part of the larger community. I'm the chair of the philosophy department and the gender studies program. And I also help lead Stetson University's higher education and prison program, community education project, work that I'm very proud of and that our students are able to engage in a variety of ways. The philosophy department is such a cool place. So many of us do so many different things in our work. And we really draw students along with us on those sort of paths of interest, inquiry, questions. My primary area is bioethics, so I'm interested in emerging technology. I'm interested in human vulnerability, including disability, and those are the sorts of things that I engage my students in when I teach bioethics, when I contribute to the public health program, or to environmental sciences and studies when we talk about large-scale issues that face all of us as a group. So I'm very glad to speak with you all tonight.
Thank you all so much. And just to confirm, DeLand is eclectic, but we don't have random people going up asking you about your ketchup choice in the grocery store. As far as I'm aware, that's a rarity. So you can be sure that there are interesting things that will happen, but maybe not that experience. Faculty, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And for those of you on the call, students and parents, feel free to add questions that you have in the chat. We will go through as many of those as we can in the next half hour. And certainly there are things that you are, I'm sure, thinking about that other people are also wanting to know more about. So don't be shy about putting that kind of thing, your questions in the chat. Can I ask right away, faculty, I used the word capstone in my remarks a minute ago, and I'm not sure that everyone, A, knows what a capstone is, or B, knows why that is such an important experience at Stetson, that we invest in it so heavily in each area. Dr. Hall, would you begin saying just a few more words about what a capstone means for Stetson?
Absolutely. So in the philosophy department, like in many other departments, it means original research. So my students conduct research in philosophy, and it's the reason why they're able to get into grad schools internationally, nationally across the United States, and compete for interesting fellowships and scholarships. So those are experiences in which the faculty leads you in a line of inquiry, and you get the opportunity to put to use the variety of skills that you've built across your time at Stetson. So in your senior year, at least in the philosophy department, and in some departments, there's a bit of staging across 2 or sometimes 3 semesters. In the philosophy department, you work in your senior year with your chosen faculty member on a project of interest to you, and you learn about methodology and you learn how to put together original research.
And Dr. Larson, capstone looks very different in the School of Music generally, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We offer actually 12 different majors across 3 different degrees in the School of Music. But the sort of unifying element for all of those majors is that they have a capstone experience where they perform. They have to perform what's called a senior recital, and it is a culminating moment where you perform just you alone for either a half an hour or an hour, depending on what your major is. And then you do some research and writing along with that as well, but it's not maybe such an extensive paper or research research proposal or research presentation as you might do in the College of Arts and Sciences. But yeah, you get repertoire from all over the world and from all over the historical periods.
I love hearing Dr. Larson say repertoire. He says it so nicely, way better than I can say it. Dr. Bakamitsos, in the School of Business Administration, I know that there's a class on a capstone experience, but there are also sales teams and entrepreneurship activities and ethics competitions that feed students in their junior and senior years. Would you say a few words about those?
Absolutely. So we have a whole kind of ecosystem, if you will, of activities that they are meant as you are approaching the end of your tenure at Stetson to combine and put together everything that you learn across different disciplines, both within the School of Business, but across the university. So there's a capstone class, and that class you're actually managing a company. It's a simulation. It's not a real company. Our provost is working hard to get us the capital to start individual companies for every student. We'll get to that point at some point. But you're managing a company, and you get kind of to compete with other students in the class and simulate what a market does and see how you can improve your performance. But in addition to this, depending on your specific interests, we have teams that they compete in national and in some cases international competitions where they are in specific areas. So we have teams that they compete in national and international sales competitions. These are teams of our undergraduate students who compete against teams of students in other universities, ethics competitions, entrepreneurship competitions, and our students don't only kind of gain an invaluable experience of what it means to interact in a professional setting, they perform amazingly well. So I'm thinking of one of our students, Bryson. Bryson is an entrepreneurship student, and he won the first prize in a national entrepreneurship competition. He's already collected funding for his company. He's doing a new medical device. He has a medical device invention, and everything happened through his interaction with his faculty in these courses, but then taking advantage of his experiences. Another thing that happens to the School of Business is experiential learning requirement, which again augments all these activities together. Every student to graduate from the School of Business needs to complete 2 experiential learning requirements. And this can be study abroads, can be internships. And the idea again is, how can you, in a real life setting outside of the classroom, augment all the skills and all the tools that you develop at Stetson and demonstrate that you can use them effectively?
There are several things that are coming from the words that our expert faculty are saying that you may want to take notes of and then do a Google search for. So someone asked if we have a trading floor. It would be interesting for you to Google the Roland George program and see pictures of our facility. You heard Dr. Bacamitso say ELR, experiential learning requirement, which is a key piece of the business school education that will get you a job when you graduate from Stetson. So some of those key words are pretty important. There was one question about our health sciences program and the expansions that are going on in the sciences. Dr. Tanner, would you say a few words about the energy that's been going on around our sciences for the past year and a half?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of energy. I don't work in health sciences myself, but I certainly have colleagues in the building that are in health sciences. And right now, the exciting news is we're working on a new building. We've got a gift from a couple of donors to the university. Hyatt and CC Brown gave a wonderful gift of many millions of dollars to build a new science facility. So we've been working on planning that. It's going to be state of the art. And the theme is going to be health sciences. So there are going to be a number of departments in there that are going to be housed collaboratively. We're really excited about the energy surrounding that building. Let's see, I believe that construction will be complete if it all goes according to schedule, probably for about half the time, my guess, is that the incoming students that are in this class are here. I think the timeline is roughly that we're 1.5 years or 2 years out. So students coming in starting next year are going to be able to take advantage of that facility. But our health sciences program is growing. We've got quite a few faculty now that are associated with it. They work extensively with other departments on campus, like psychology, like biology. But there's a lot of energy there, and we're really excited about it. And the university's investing in it right now, as this new building demonstrates.
Perfect. Yeah, we expect to break ground on Brown Hall in June of 2021. So that would be before. It might be before you start your journey, unless you choose to engage in the summer. Faculty, there are several questions about individual majors and the potential for double majors. More questions than we'll be able to answer today. You know, questions about, do we have a classical vocal performance program, or can you double major in accounting in this other area, or what do you offer in this? What would you suggest is the best way for students and their parents to get answers about programs that we may not talk about on today's webinar?
If I could jump in really quickly, Dr. Painter, again, it's Dr. Larson here in the music school. We have a lot of fabulous student musicians at Stetson who major in other areas, right? So you don't have to be a music major to be in our ensembles or lessons, and it's the same with Dr. Hall in philosophy. You don't have to be a philosophy major to take an awesome class with Dr. Hall or any of her colleagues there. So there's this idea of flowing between the schools and college a little bit, and you need to do that, and you will do that, as Dr. Hancock said. It's sort of built in to what you do. But this idea of how to find out what Stetson offers, I call myself the catalog expert. I consider myself to be a fine catalog expert. Every university is required to have a catalog. Some of them call it a bulletin. Ours is called the catalog. But if you go to the catalog, there's always a little tab or a little link that says majors, okay? And you want to look for that, and you want to see what the majors are. I have students who say, I'm going to major in, in Snarfblatt. I'm going to be a music major, and I'm going to play the Snarfblatt. Well, you need to look on there and see, well, does Stetson offer a major in Snarfblatt? And you're going to find out, oh, no, we don't. So, but we do offer majors in lots of other areas. So looking through them, and I love to look through like the minors in the College of Arts and Sciences and the majors, and I scroll and I scroll and I scroll, what do they offer? And it's so impressive what's offered. And same thing in the School of Business. You can just scroll through the list of majors and see what's there. And at some point, that starts to click for me. If I'm a student, I say, oh, I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in that. And then if I have one that I like from different screens, then I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to write an email and ask about the possibilities. But I love the catalog.
Okay, I'd like to jump in too, if I could. I would encourage students to also take a look at the different department pages. And if you've got questions, contact the department chair. I know I'm happy to field questions from incoming students. I know others are as well. I think it's pretty easy to double major at Stetson, especially depending on your discipline. Ours is interdisciplinary, environmental science and studies, and we draw on a lot of other disciplines. In fact, I've got a student this semester that's working with both myself and Dr. Hall, who's also here. Summer, she's found a way to pull philosophy and environmental science together. So that's a pretty common thing at Stetson. And I think students start making these connections when they start taking classes in all these different areas, and they realize that they can really find things that they like, and they find interesting ways to pull them together in order kind of to innovate and move forward. So that's a pretty common thing here. And I think a lot of students are going to bounce around a little at first because you're going to take so many different classes. You may find that you change your major after a year, and you may find that you want to double major because you like philosophy just as much as you like environmental science.
We actually find that students who change their major at least one time after they start at Stetson graduate at a higher rate than students who come in and never change their major. Isn't that an interesting thing that Stetson can promote? I mean, that's really a pretty natural part of the discovery experience. Even if you think you know exactly, you may not know what all those pieces are going to look like. I think Dr. Larson and Dr. Tanner hit on two important points. When you're the size as we are at Stetson, I think you should expect that if you have a question, if you want to know about the history program that we have, you're going to be able to reach out to a faculty member in history or the department chair in history and ask them a question, to leave them a voicemail, to send them an email, and you're going to get a response. That's how Stetson operates. That's part of the contract that we have with you, right? The contract between faculty and students to advance your learning. So that doesn't need to start when you deposit at Stetson or when you first step on our ground here in August. It can start right now. So if you have those kind of specific questions about criminal justice major or specific majors, specific opportunities to double major, I would encourage you to find someone to reach out to. They can give you guidance. They can help you understand what is it that positions you to be able to double major or dual major in a way that can be done in 4 years. There are certain things that are easier to do, easier to pair than others. In the College of Arts and Sciences, generally about a third of each major is general education, and a third of each major is elective, and a third of each major is actually major courses. That pile of electives allows for considerable overlap for students who want to do double majoring. And if you're coming in with AP credit and IB credit, oftentimes people think that means you can graduate earlier. It may mean that you can graduate earlier, but far more common, people will still graduate in 4 years and use that credit to allow them to do more, to do an internship they wouldn't have otherwise done, to study abroad in a way that they wouldn't have otherwise done, to double major, to add 2 minors. It creates opportunity, and your faculty advisors can help you see what those opportunities are. Dr. Hancock, there's a specific question about, do we have support centers? And we have a lot of them. Would you say a few words about those specific centers that are dedicated to student support?
Sure, I'll talk about some in different ways because you come here as a whole person. So for example, I would even say that our cross-cultural center is a center of support. So a lot of our students, that's their second home at Stetson. They hang out in the cross-cultural center, and it's students of all identities, but a lot of students who come to our campus who are LGBT or who are international or who are of different populations choose to hang out there with other students and get to know them. So that's a support center of sorts, and we offer resources there like information about financial aid, study tips, etc. But students often just give support to each other in that space. And then we have more, academic support centers. So we have in the library, we have an academic support center that includes tutoring. And in certain courses where we know that students might need additional support, we've built it in. So for example, if you take the Intro to Bio course, there's a student who already did well in that course, who's usually a senior who's studying for the MCAT or something like that, and they offer tutoring built into the course. And so lots of students are in that space. And right now we're offering those spaces both online and in person. So there is no shortage of support. And even, again, I would say that our wellness center, our counseling center, our support, our health center support, those are all supports for you, because when you come here, we're hoping that you come as a whole person and that we can support every piece of what you need. Accessibility services and providing accommodations to students who need it, that's a support. If you come to Stetson, you should have all the support you need to have the chance to graduate and meet your goals.
Thank you. I've seen the support services at a number of institutions, and I think that Stetson just really hits it out of the park in terms of the support that it offers its students. Faculty, are there any aspects of student support, perhaps the advising that happens early on, or the experiences in a student's first year seminar that you would want to add a little bit about?
Let me take a first kind of attempt to answer this question. So my perspective on this is very simple. You're coming to Stetson because you're here to build relationships, and building a strong relationship with your academic advisor, finding faculty mentors, finding peer mentors is extremely important. These are the people that will help you answer questions, they'll help you explore your interests. And the advantage of being such a small community is that you can have very frequent, easy access to these individuals. The other thing that I'll tell you from experience, because I work closely with my colleagues in student success, is all our professional staff in student success is committed and dedicated to your success at the university. And I've been in several institutions, and I have to admit that this is the most committed and dedicated staff that you will ever find caring about your individual success. So my advice to you is, do not wait to engage, start engaging early. Provost Painter mentioned that right now, a few minutes ago. He says, I'm like, don't wait for you to come here to start asking questions. Reach out to faculty, reach out to department chairs. Department chairs will connect you with faculty who may have interest in your area of expertise, right? You may want to study something, let's say marketing, but you don't care about consumer behavior and you care about marketing research. I will connect you with my colleagues who will help you pursue kind of your dreams and answer your questions. Everyone here is committed 100% in your success. This is our mission. We are all here because we care about you, and you need to take advantage of this opportunity.
That was beautiful.
That absolutely, the relationships aspect that you're talking about. When I look at the FSEM, which Dr. Painter mentioned, or these other very early opportunities, so much is about the relationship building you're doing with faculty. You may not know whether or not you care about consumer behavior or one of these other items, but in your engagement, you begin to develop your ideas and preferences. And I think it's just so wonderful to watch every year as we get a new crop of students in to some of those early opportunities. And I also want to echo our fantastic staff in all these different areas.
That was amazing. I love hearing that statement about how much we care about students, and we demonstrate that in both our support for them and the care and feeding directly from the faculty. So interestingly, while I don't want to particularly focus on one major because there are so many that are represented here, there is a question in the chat that would be interesting to hear your perspective on, Dr. Hall. Someone writes, if you major in philosophy, can you take classes in Jewish studies or religion? So outside of that particular request, what does it look like to come to Stetson as a first-year student and start that journey of exploration?
Thank you for passing that question along to me. Absolutely, we have people in philosophy, students who engage in religious studies and philosophy at that nexus. We have a very manageable major in terms of the number of units. So the way that we look at our class system at Stetson is to call each course a unit, and philosophy has 10. So what that means is that you can easily combine and work with other majors. And we love that because philosophy is enlivened by these engagements. Our students get into very often health. In my bioethics classes, I have students from all over the university who pick up a major or minor in philosophy. And in terms of Jewish studies, our growing area in Jewish studies is really exciting. And I have students who are interested in that. And our faculty in philosophy include folks who work on philosophy of religion. So they have really interesting engagements with the faculty over there as well.
Perfect, thank you. I think that the response that you got from Dr. Hall there to that kind of combination is a similar experience that you would get in talking with a faculty member about perhaps what you would want to explore. There are a lot of different things that have overlapping pieces of yarn, right? I think that we really emphasize interdisciplinarity quite well. There are a number of non-music majors who take music courses. We have built in a degree that pairs music and business together because entrepreneurship is such an important part of a musician's life after they graduate. We have built a lot of these things in, and then other pieces happen very naturally. As we get close to the end of our time, I'd like to ask one more particular question. And it may seem that learning is all about what happens in the classroom, what things are required of our curricula. But in truth, when you come to a place like Stetson, learning is so much of what you do. Learning is part of your residential life experience. Learning is the way that you engage in community engagement. Learning is being an environmental sciences major and sitting in the orchestra and playing. So I would love for some of you to talk about what learning looks like outside of the classroom at Stetson. I know all of you on the screen and know that all of you engage in guiding our students through that kind of learning. So if you have particular examples, I'd love for our audience to hear them.
So I'll start and I'll tell you what I'm going to do this coming Saturday. This coming Saturday, along with one of our finance professors, we're going to take 10 freshman students who are taking his freshman seminar for a 5-mile hike in De Leon Springs. And the course is he's teaching is on natural survival, but this will be an opportunity for students to interact with us in a very different setting than the classroom. And the expectation is to get to know them better and for them to get to know us better, because that's the first step in building meaningful relationships. These are students who showed up a month and a half ago, and they're starting their journey at Stetson. And what a better way to get to know them other than taking a walk in the woods. And I think of my friend and good colleague, John Rasp, who holds his office hours in the lobby of the business school building while playing chess matches with his students. That's part of the learning experience. That's what makes Stetson unique. This is not a place where you get very kind of industrialized education, right? These are not boxes all neatly stacked on top of each other. This is the place where you come, you are given a canvas, and you create your own kind of masterpiece, whatever that masterpiece looks for you.
I don't know if we have time, but I have one more example. Learning might be taking students to a conference. I had 3 students before kind of the COVID outbreak that I had about 7 or 8 months ago to the Geological Society of America meeting, Jessica and Nick and Alex. And learning for them was getting to meet people outside of Stetson in this discipline and making contacts outside of Stetson and getting to go out to eat at dinner with them. You know, so we do a lot of learning outside of class, and the experiences that Dr. Bakamitsos talked about, and also other types of experiences like conferences and even on campus, taking a walk across campus with your professor because you happen to be walking next to each other, you know, outside of class. So these are the kinds of things that you do at Stetson.
At the risk of speaking too much, I'll just add one more. In the philosophy department, we have a weekly meeting that we call Idle Talk, which is a callback to one of my favorite philosophers. And the idea here is that we just get to see what comes up. And some of my favorite interactions with students happen in that forum. So Rachel, Jackson, other students with whom we have these ongoing conversations get to chat with us each Friday, and we get just as much out of it as they do.
So I've been at Stetson long enough that I've been able to see in the educational market in America the words service learning and experiential learning come to bear. Those were not being tossed around at all when I was hired at Stetson. And now they're kind of the industry standard. But I've been at Stetson through that process, and I think the university has done a fabulous job and exhibited a leadership role in grappling with and then organizing itself into a situation where we really have a good handle on experiential learning and service learning. And it could be as simple as a music student performing for an off-campus audience in a benefit capacity. It could be business students doing pro bono tax or accounting work, and it could be all through the College of Arts and Sciences and the various disciplines there. But I'm thrilled to see that. I've always dreaded the idea of being a professor who's stuck in an ivory tower, who loses touch with the world. I wanted to be a professor who was always engaged and on the edge of whatever the market was throwing at me. And I felt like Stetson has been a great environment for that through experiential and service learning.
So I'll end by giving 2 examples. One is that I'm leaving here to meet some of the meditation club on the lawn because they have a weekly meditation thing at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. So we'll sit apart from each other and learn about meditation together and stress relief. And then after that, I'm logging into a Race in the 21st Century panel that our faculty are offering at 8 o'clock tonight to talk about the issues of identity that are in the election, issues of race, issues of immigration, women's rights issues. And I am so excited. I won't say I'm more excited than even watching TV last night, but I'm so excited to hear the issues that are going to be brought up there. And I'll just give one last example that I worked with students interdisciplinary from environmental studies, business, marketing, all type of areas on a project where, for example, they wanted to work on increasing the sustainability of our own food service on campus. So I worked together with them in something called a food forum, where they got together with faculty specialists and with our dining services, which, by the way, serves something like 90 of the top Fortune 100 companies. And the VP of sustainability for that company got on the phone with the students and asked them what they wanted to see. And they wrote a grant for a pulper, and they decided they wanted to have a waste-free facility. And as we were redoing the dining center, it was redone by students, and they can put that on their resume and they can get jobs. But even if they don't, we learned a ton from each other. And that's what I love about Stetson. Where else would I be able to put the action in? Every time I go to the cafeteria, I think about the fact that students use their expertise and their talents and their knowledge, and faculty and staff together to make a better world.
I do hope that you've gotten a little flavor of what Stetson is like, the interaction with the people at Stetson. Stetson is about its people. And so we look forward to greeting you in person at some point in the near future. Dr. Hancock, Dr. Bakamitsos, Dr. Larson, Dr. Tanner, and Dr. Hall, thank you all so much for your wisdom and your time tonight.
Thank you all so much. That was amazing. I have firsthand experience in all the things that these faculty members are saying. They are here for your benefit. Please reach out to them. Please start that communication now as a prospective student. So I have the privilege of introducing our next speaker. We have Dr. Larry Coral Hughes. He is our Assistant Vice President of Campus Life and Student Success and Executive Director of Residential Living and Learning, here to speak with you more about what it's about to be a Hatter.
It's so great to be with you this evening here on campus and across the globe. Open House is one of my favorite events every year throughout the year to get to speak with you and want to talk with you a little bit about what it means to be a Hatter, and so what it means to be here at Stetson. So first, a little bit of fine print. So all photos used in this presentation were taken prior to COVID-19. Face coverings and physical distancing is required in practice here on campus right now. And you can visit stetson.edu/saferstetson to learn more about that. No statues were harmed in the making of this presentation. So where does the name Hatter come from anyway? Well, the gentleman on this statue is John B. Stetson. He was the inventor of the cowboy hat, the Stetson hat, and the founder of the Stetson Hat Company. He was an early benefactor of the university and was one of the first snowbirds who came and lived here in DeLand actually during the summer, and the Stetson Mansion is here in town. But we are the Hatters, and so hopefully you'll be joining us as a Hatter. So what are Hatters? Hatters are engaged. So we have over 100 student organizations, clubs, both club sports, academic clubs, academic organizations, countless games, concerts, programs, and on-campus events throughout the year. Stetson students are involved and engaged with other students on our campus and in our local community. We have a very active student government. So if student government is your thing or one of the things you've always thought about doing, you can be part of our community here at Stetson in that way and serve and represent the student body. We do have a variety of religious and spiritual organizations, both from a wide range of perspectives and backgrounds, as well as lots of different cultural and identity groups. We have academic clubs that are sponsored by different academic departments, and our fraternity and sorority life is pretty robust. It is one of those things here at Stetson where you can be involved with fraternity and sorority life, but if you're not, it doesn't feel like you don't have a place here. And so we have a very active student media called Hatter Network. I love to think of it as a student university media conglomerate. So we have the Reporter, which is our newspaper, What Radio, or WHAT Radio is online. We also have the Touchstone, which is a literary journal, and they produce Uncouth Hour, which is one of my favorite things here at Stetson, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. Hatters are impactful. We impact the community around us, and so one of the ways we do that is through community service. Our Center for Community Engagement provides an opportunity for students to find their sweet spot between serving the community in meaningful and sustainable ways and their academic interests and their future career. So bringing all of those three things together to that sweet spot. Other ways is student organizations. A lot of them do philanthropy as a way of serving the community. So Green Feather is this inter-organizational competition to raise money for a local charity or not a local charity, a local organization that serves our community every year. Typically raises over $10,000 a year. Hatterthon is relatively new at Stetson, so it's a dance marathon organization. Last year they raised $62,000 for the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital. And so if you have ever thought about dancing all night, there's a place for you. Hatters are healthy. We have a lot of different ways that you can live out health and wellness here at Stetson. So be it intramurals or a pickup game, there's lots of a variety of different intramurals that are individual and group. We have all different ways of eating, of healthy eating. So our dining commons is phenomenal. I've worked all over the country in a lot of different universities, and our dining commons is consistently good with a consistent variety of great food, but lots of healthy options as well as different dietary needs. And so there's always vegan options. There's always a variety of vegetarian options. As well as we have what we call a G8 station, which has food that is phenomenal, but also avoids the top 8 allergens in that area. And so that is available to all students. Also, there's a lot of places around campus just to stop and take a moment. And so whether that is in the prayer and meditation room in Griffith Hall or out and about on campus. And so you'll see hatters all the time breaking out a hammock between 2 trees. The palm trees on Palm Court and around campus are perfectly spaced for a nice hammock. The hatters like to have fun, and so uncouth hour is one of the ways that we do that. And so right on the left side of your screen is a picture of the garage. Lee's Garage in the Carlson Union building, which is a multi-purpose space for students and student events. It's solely for that. And we open up the big garage doors, and on Thursday nights, reliable like clockwork, is uncouth hour. And so it's been going for over 25 years, and it's an open mic night. It is not uncommon for there to be 125, 150 people show up for uncouth hour. You just get in line in the chairs and the mic is yours. And so it is a broad cross section of our university student body showing up to perform and support one another. All sorts of events happen through residential living and learning, student development, campus vibrancy, and student organizations. Things that are big events and little events, like just getting together and carving and painting some pumpkins out on the lawn. The intramural games, there can be some very interesting off the beaten path organizational games. So Battleship in the pool is one thing. So what we have over here on the right side of the screen. One of our biggest sources of fun is our student organizations. And so they have events all throughout the year, and as a way to get involved with people who have similar interests to you. The Nerd Society, the Nerd Culture Society is one. There's a board game club, even getting into esports, as well as lots of different interest organizations. Late night breakfast. I can't forget late night breakfast. At the end of every semester in the dining commons, our faculty and staff show up to serve you breakfast during finals, and the line to get in and get a t-shirt is out the door down by the flagpole in front of the Carlton Union building. It's the place to be to get pancakes and have fun on a evening during finals. Hatters are supported. There is so many different ways that you will be supported through student life here, both from your peers. And so we have resident assistants in all of our residence halls who have intentional conversations with you, where they are thinking through with you and helping you understand yourself in the context of Stetson. Also, what resources do you need, and helping you connect with those resources, but also connecting you with other people in your hall. And another element of support is our in our Academic Success Center, the Hollis Family Student Success Center, which is inside the library. We have peer tutoring. We have what we call SPI, which is supplemental instruction. And lots of different ways of supporting you, accessibility services. If you have any learning needs that can be met. Also, just Stetson students help each other in all sorts of ways. And so lots of things that are informal, people just talking with one another and helping them through classes and with events and life on campus in general. Hatters belong. You can find your people here at Stetson. One of the things I have always said, and it always rings true, is one of my favorite things about Stetson is the students, and you can find your place here at Stetson. Everybody has the ability to find their people, and so whether that is in the Cross-Cultural Center, which moved to its new home on Burtfish Drive last year, and is the place that provides support for students from all backgrounds, or within the residence halls. So you can find your people in the common spaces throughout the residence halls. Hatters are home, and so about 85% of incoming students, first-year students, live on campus every year. We have a 3-year residency requirement, and in total, about 65% of our students live on campus. A lot of those are seniors who choose to live on campus all 4 years. Even students who don't live on campus but commute often find themselves here late at night hanging out in the Cub. The Carlton Union building is open 24 hours a day for you to hang out and spend time in. There are lockers for commuters in the Carlton Union building, the Cub, the Hollis Center, and the library. So lots of places to, just store your books, store your lunch if you bring that. Lots of life and activity. Whether you live on campus or off campus, Stetson will be your home. And so I just want to say, welcome to Stetson. It is a wonderful place. These photos are not photoshopped. This is real life here at Stetson. It is beautiful. Today we had our first day of fall. We had some nice crisp weather this morning, and so want to welcome you. There will be plenty of time for questions with a group of our students coming up right next. Alexis, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Corell Hughes. So yes, this is the time that you were able to ask our current students questions. So we have joining us today 4 amazing current students. We have Nesha, we have Gianni, we have Derek and Peter, who are now going to join us so that we can go ahead and get this started. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat as they are coming on. But hi guys, hi everyone. Everyone's joining now. Like I stated before, go ahead, there's a poll that's going to come up first that's going to talk about, have you ever had an opportunity to visit campus? I know our students are going to talk about how great campus is and how great campus life is, but go ahead and figure out that poll. Let us know if you have had the opportunity to visit campus. So excited to have our current students here to talk about their experience, what they love about Stetson. Like I said, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. We're going to start off with Derek, and then we're going to go to Gianni, Peter, and Nesha. Derek, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
All right, hi, my name's Derek. I'm a transfer student. I transferred here last year, so currently I'm a senior, funny enough. I'm inside of the Roland George program, Lambda Chi Alpha, and I was a student ambassador over last summer. It was a real good time, and also, by the way, I'm a finance major, forgot to say that. And also, I'm from Illinois, for everyone from Illinois. Hello.
Okay, hi, I'm Gianni. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, but I came to Stetson. I'm a political science major. It is my last semester here on campus, and I currently hold 2 jobs. I work for the Office of Admissions, so I actually do get the opportunity to speak to a lot of you, and I also work for Accessibilities.
Hi, everybody. My name's Peter Grubel. I am currently a senior this year. I major in public health with a concentration in psychology. I have my minor in Spanish that I finished studying abroad in Spain, while studying abroad in Spain. I'm currently an Edmonds Scholar on campus. I'm part of the honors program, and I finance director for Hatterthon, which we talked about earlier, the dance marathon here on campus. And I'm also a safer Stetson champion, which is taking people's temperatures in the Welcome Center when they come in.
Awesome. So I'm Neksha. I'm a management major and I'm fully 100% remote. I'm living in Jacksonville currently, which is just like 2 hours north of Stetson. And I'm involved in a couple things. So I am in the honors program as well as Omicron Delta Kappa, which is the National Leaders Society, and I'm the VP of programming for that. I also work with ESPN in broadcasting as well. I'm a student ambassador. And then I founded 2 companies with the Prince Entrepreneurship Leaders program, and I have pitched at a couple competitions with them and gotten that experience and countless other things, but Stetson just has so much to offer.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and jump into these questions. So we're actually going to start with Derek here. All of you are going to answer this question, but we have students asking, what made you choose Stetson? And for those of you who are coming from out of state, let us know how you were able to make that transition from a distant place to come to Stetson.
So the reason I came to Stetson was honestly because of the way like Stetson's campus is. It's the most beautiful campus I've ever seen. I traveled around a lot before I came to Stetson, and I thought it was by far amazing. Like Palm, the best place ever. So too, I came for campus as well. Stetson was tops. They're one of the best in our area, so it was kind of a choice. And lastly, just because of the Roland George program. But also, there is a ton to do on campus as well. There's clubs going on. There is Greek life, and also downtown there is a bunch of stuff to do. There's restaurants, there's, not going to say bars, but there's a lot of fun stuff down. And yeah, that's all I've got right now.
Okay, so for me, what I ended up, my process, I applied to about 12 schools, so that was a lot. I visited every single campus, and what really solidified Stetson for me was that every single time I visited around 3 times. It felt like home. Everyone was so welcoming. I got to actually sit in a few classes and speak to professors and see how the Stetson life was. And I realized that I really wanted an environment where I was going to be valued and where I was going to excel. So here at Stetson, I have a lot of one-on-one interactions with my professors, and that's really been an environment that has helped me excel.
I'm also out of state. I forgot to mention that I'm from Iowa. The first time I actually heard about Stetson was through a football offer. I played here for 2 years, but what got me to Stetson and what has kept me at Stetson is how beautiful it is, how great financial aid is with working with you to help give you a sponsor, like a financial aid packet that helps you based on your academics as well as with your FAFSA. And then like Derek and Gianni said, I loved how small the classes were and how the teachers, how personable they were. And I still love that to this day, being able to readily access them and work with them.
Yeah. So actually, I used to live in California, and I was going to go to UCLA and had a transfer guarantee to UC Davis. And our family was looking at moving to Florida, and I was just looking at schools. And one of the main things that directed me to Stetson was I was a Phi Theta Kappa scholar because came in like Derek as a transfer student. And so I toured the campus just like, why not? And I fell in love immediately. Like everybody's been saying, it is stunning. The class sizes, I've never met a more helpful group of professors and faculty that just make you feel 100% at home. And so I only applied to Stetson. I was planning on going to other schools. I had full scholarship and funding for other schools, but I didn't want to be in a school with that many people where I couldn't actually grow and have those relationships.
Hey, thank you so much. So Derek, we actually have a question directly for you. You actually started talking about the Roland George Investments Program, and some individuals want to know more about that. So could you go ahead and talk a little bit more about your experience with the Roland George program?
Yes, so the Roland George program is a student-run finance program. So basically it is a student-run portfolio. The entire portfolio is run by students. Funny enough, it started on $5,000 and now it's about $4.8 million. Over COVID, we made $1 million, which is really cool. So in the program is a two-year program. First, you study equities and you make recommendations for the equity portfolio. And then the second semester, you will be make recommendations on bonds and fixed income instruments. It's a really cool little program, and you really learn a lot about how our debt markets work and how our equity markets work. Overall, it's one of the better experiences I had at Stetson, and it really positions you to get a job coming out of Stetson. And it's one of the best at Stetson, honestly.
Good, that's great. So we do have students asking, do you think choosing Stetson made it or will make getting a career easier? And Derek, you really touched on that, so thank you so much. To all of you, students are asking, what is the environment like? Nesha, I'm gonna go to you. What is the environment like on campus here?
You know what's really cool about Stetson is it's almost like pick your play, like pick your experience that you really want to have. So if you really want to have this really exciting, loud group of friends, like constantly doing things, having fun, going to the beach, and whatever, you can do that. Or if you just kind of want that dark academia, chill in your room, go to the library, you can also do that as well, because it is a smaller campus. It can be quiet, like towards the evenings and things like that. So if you want that space and you want that quiet dorm life, I lived on a 24-hour quiet hall for a while. And so if you want that, you have that. Or if you want to have a large dorm room and you want that experience and that community, you can select that as well. So like I said, it's really customizable.
I love how you talk about it's customizable. That leads me into our next question. Everyone's asking about the living situation on campus, the dorm. So anyone can take this question. Peter, I'm going to go to you on this question. Tell us about the dorm life on campus.
Okay, so I would actually say my freshman year, that's where I met most of my friends, was actually being in the dorms on campus. Most freshmen do live on campus, and the residence halls have common areas that currently, I'm not sure, I don't think they're open quite yet just because we are on tier 2. But when they were, that's a place that students can congregate, work on homework, and actually get to know each other. So I really enjoy living on campus here.
Hey, cool. I mean, I met my best friend in college too in the dorms. The dorms are pretty great. I think it's because it's close to dinner time. Everyone's asking about food. And I know that Dr. Painter talked about the food on campus. And I know that Dr. Corell Hughes talked about the food on campus. So Gianni, how is the food on campus?
So the food on campus is absolutely amazing. Definitely whatever you want. Well, for the most part, it's available. There's a pizza station, a burger station, a salad station. There's vegan options. There's absolutely everything. There's also themed nights that I know of. I know this month we're in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. So every Wednesday last week they had a Brazilian chef actually come in and make food for everyone. So food's absolutely amazing. You won't regret it.
Good. So now kind of segueing into something else I have to ask you all about. Everyone's asking, what does everyone do on the weekend? And we can kind of tie that back into the food that's downtown. So we're going to Derek. Derek, what do students do on the weekend? And anyone else can chime in afterwards.
Sorry, I forgot I muted myself. So on the weekends, a lot of people do go to the beaches, but there is definitely a nightlife in DeLand as well. There's plenty to do, and also there are a bunch of food places downtown. There are great restaurants like Bite. There are great restaurants like Tony's, and there's also just like nice places too. We have 2 rodeo places, Sweetlets, and forgot the other one. But just there's things to do downtown, and on top of that, there's also just places to hang out on campus. There's a lot of things to do here.
And if you are from somewhere else, it doesn't hurt to meet a friend that has a car because the beach is only 30 minutes away.
Yes.
Yes, the beaches are only 30 minutes away. So hey, if you need like a quick little study break, I'd say go ahead and hit the beach and then come back if you need to as well. So kind of going into study breaks and things of that nature, we have students asking about teaching assistants and how does that work in the class. So anyone can take this question on how you've interacted with teaching assistants and who teaches actually the classes here and the average class size and your class experience in general.
Well, I don't want to speak in place of anyone else, but I'm currently a behavioral statistics teaching assistant. That's what TA is, if anyone's unsure. And what the TAs do is they sit in the classes and actually take notes and pay attention to what the teacher's saying. And almost, I'd say, I don't want to generalize, but I'd say 99% of them have taken that class before. So they take notes and then they hold sessions during the like tutoring sessions during the week that students who missed class or need some help with some concepts can go and get that additional tutoring to help them succeed in that class. But the teacher teaches it, the TAs don't.
Okay, good. Hey, Nesha, I'm actually going to come to you. I know that you said you are fully remote. So can you kind of explain how the remote learning is working for you this upcoming semester?
Yeah, absolutely. I really do miss being on campus. I definitely, but Stetson has made it really accessible for some of us that haven't been able to get down there. So I have two different types of classes. I have the fully online, and then I have the hybrid. So the teachers are really incredible about posting exactly what needs to be done. So you just kind of go through it yourself, and then sometimes they post lectures and stuff if it's like for an online class. And then the hybrids, you do like maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. You actually get to be in a class like via a Zoom call or what we call Blackboard Collaborate, and you can be able to see what's going on and ask questions, kind of like we're doing right now. And what's really fun about being fully remote as well is you have a really flexible schedule. You have a little bit more time to multitask, go to local coffee shops, you know, maybe spend more time with your family. So there's definitely other options, but I can't wait to come back to campus.
Well, we do miss you. We miss all of you. So I do have a lot of students asking about sports and athletics. I know, Peter, that you said that you were a student athlete here. So could you kind of talk about how that life was being a student athlete here on campus?
Yeah, of course. So I was part of the football team previously, and every day, or just about every day, depending on if it was off season or during the regular season, we'd have lifts, meetings, and then also practice. Get up early for a lift or a meeting, depending on what day it is. Usually have practice in the afternoon or at night, and then games on the weekends. Travel, teachers are usually pretty understanding of that, and I know that that's how it works for like cross country, soccer, volleyball, all those sports. We have a great new athletic facility with a nice weight room and really great lifting coaches who know what they're doing. I think I also saw something about participation in sports on campus. I mean, it gets pretty exciting. The students get in free at football games. I don't know how many people go to basketball games just because I haven't really gone to them, but our baseball team and volleyball teams are very good as well. They get good turnouts, and baseball actually made it to, I think, the quarterfinals or something of the NCAA tournament against big schools. And it was an experience that I would never have changed. I just realized that I wouldn't be able to study abroad if I continued with it. And that was something that I thought was important for my college experience. So you kind of have to be selfish with that.
That's okay. That's good. Well, hey, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And some other individuals want to know also about clubs and how you got involved. So Gianni, I'm going to go to you. How did you get involved in the clubs and organizations that you're a part of here at Stetson?
Yeah, so I'm actually the Director of Public Relations for Rotaract, and I'm a member of both BSA, CSA, and the Asian Pacific American Coalition. CSA and BSA I had met some friends and they were like, this would be great. They do tabling, and I had kind of started to interact with some of those who held positions in leadership, and they were like, come, and I found that they're absolutely amazing environments. I really got to meet people from similar backgrounds like myself and interact with them. Also, kind of one that is a little strange for me, the Asian Pacific American Coalition. I had a friend and she was like, oh, you should come to an event. And I did, and I have made an amazing group of friends. I've learned so much about a culture that's completely different from mine. And yeah, there's so many clubs and intramurals as well where you can meet people, and definitely you can find your niche and make amazing friends.
We do pride ourselves here at Stetson on diversity. Gianni, can you explain what exactly CSA means and BSA means for those of our viewers who don't know?
Yes. So CSA is the Caribbean Students Association, and BSA is the Black Students Association.
Well, thank you so much. So everyone's also wondering, you all are so involved. Like, I know we have Derek here with Greek Life. You all are so involved, and everyone wants to know, how do you manage the workload? Does it affect you? Is it a lot? Is it not? Derek, I'm going to start with you. What is the workload like, and how do you balance that with all the other things that you do on campus?
That is definitely a rough question. Work-life balance is really tough sometimes. Roland George, it is definitely some late nights there for me. But other than that, before I was in Roland George, it was definitely a lot easier to balance. It was most of the time like your club meetings would be, at times they would ask you to make sure that like you were good to meet for like small meetings, and for larger ones, usually they were later in the night. It's definitely a lot easier to balance it then. And like usually classes you can kind of figure out.
Go ahead, Gianna. Sorry, so sorry.
Okay. I think for me, it definitely varies on semester. This semester, because we are online, I have a little bit more leeway since I'm not going on campus as much. So I did take up more positions, like my 2 jobs and a position in Rotarac. But for the most part, everything, like everyone is really understanding. Sometimes, you know, I've had assignments where I'm like, I need the extra time. So I'll let someone from my club know, or even at work, and I'll let them know, hey, I have this really important thing that I have to turn in. And they're just really understanding, and everyone's really flexible. So I think that's the great thing about Stetson.
I love how you talked about your jobs and how you have 2 as a student. Can you kind of go ahead and talk about how you went about getting a student employment job and how that kind of works here on campus?
Yeah. So Stetson has an amazing resources, but also we have Hatter Jobs where you can kind of search up everything that's available on campus. And as I said, I work as a receptionist for accessibility. So I work with a lot of students who need accommodations, and I also work as a telecenter caller. So again, they're both very flexible. Telecenter, I work kind of in the evenings because that works for me. The other job, I work in the mornings, and it's just kind of like a regular job. I looked them up, I sent in cover letters, my resume, I had an interview, and I think these experiences are also very important because it's kind of like how the real world is going to be. So I feel like Stetson definitely helps you get prepared for what your real life job is going to be like.
Good, cool. So, Peter, I'm going to come back to you. Actually, we have a current, potential students asking about study abroad. Can you explain how you were able to study abroad, how that process was really quickly, and kind of where that took you?
Yeah, so study abroad here is really exciting. There's lots of different programs. The exchange programs I did an exchange program in Madrid, and the nice thing about that was that any academic scholarship I have here carries over through that. So that was really exciting because it helped pay for a lot of the costs. And if you don't have, if they don't have an exchange program that you like, you are able to kind of look through affiliate programs as well. We have a department called the World Office, and they have all the information that if you are interested in that, online and in person, you can meet with them, talk to them, and they'll help you out with that process. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I went to all speaking in Madrid, and I feel like my language skills definitely improved, definitely proficient. My classes were in Spanish, and my host family didn't speak English, so there was definitely a learning curve, but the experiences that you can gain through studying abroad are second to none, and Stetson definitely helps you have those experiences.
Yes, global engagement is global citizenship is actually one of our 3rd values here at Stetson. So we love that you were able to have that opportunity to study abroad. We do have some students asking about political acceptance here on campus, probably with everything going on. So if anyone wants to take that question, people want to know what is the acceptance here at Stetson, no matter what your views are.
I'll say a thing or two. I know as far as politics goes, this year has been pretty polarizing for a lot of people, so I completely understand the question, especially with the debates yesterday. But I have never been on such a campus that's been so almost, I don't want to say middle of the road, but there's so many people that have both views, but there's very intellectual conversations about why people hold those views. So, you know, it doesn't matter what side you're on, so to speak, you're going to be able to find professors and fellow students that are going to have conversations with you about your political identity in a really welcoming way, versus some campus I've been in and it's been very strongly left or very strongly right, and you don't really feel like there is that type of intellectual conversation. conversation, and I really appreciated that. That's actually one of the things that drew me to Stetson, was the fact that I felt like I could speak my mind, because I'm a very political person. I actually had a political internship for a potential congressman last summer, and it's very important to me. So I definitely appreciate how Stetson treats that.
So I love how you talked about how you can have intellectual conversations with individuals on campus and professors. We're going to go back to Derek. Derek, can you talk about maybe the relationships that you have with your professors and how they know you on that personal level and know that you're not just a number here at Stetson?
Definitely with our class sizes, it's definitely really easy to get to know your professor. Personally, in the finance, Dr. Hurst is one of the best teachers I've ever had. And personally, I know him on a personal level through, Nesh's sake. I'm sorry about that.
He's
a little
awesome.
nervous. He is like one of the best. But literally, he's one of the reasons I was in Roland George was just because of him. He kind of pulled me into the program originally. And overall, professors really care across everything. In my JSEM, I forgot exactly her name, but she definitely cared a lot about us. And I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names for professors, but definitely throughout my time, professors at Stetson were far than any other ones I've had before.
Anyone else want to talk about their relationships with their professors and how they've gotten to know them on a personal level? Gianni, what are your relationships with the professors that you've been able to meet here at Stetson?
Yeah. I have very, very close relationships with almost all of my professors. Being in the political science department, we have like our main professors. There's about 6 or 7 of them. So you meet all of them eventually. My academic advisor, I've had a class with him every single semester that I've been at Stetson. So we definitely know each other very well. He's also my senior research advisor now. So we just definitely have an amazing working relationship, and he knows me. Like, he knows when I'm stressed, when I'm like, I need extra help with something and I don't ask. He's like, no, you need clarification on that. He's like, I can see it. Also, my FSEM, Dr. Capastoro, she kind of became a friend to me. Me and like a few friends that I met that semester, we meet with her multiple times every single semester. Even though I'm a senior now, I met her during FSEM, and we go to lunch, and it's definitely like just they're very welcoming, and it's very easy to build close bonds.
Alrighty, so you all, we're gonna wrap this up with one last question. To all of you, Derek, we're gonna start with you, then Gianni, Peter, and Nesha. What is the one thing that you would like all prospective students to know about Stetson? Derek, we'll start with you.
Stetson is somewhere you can truly thrive and really become the person you need to be in the world. And overall, it is the greatest place you can grow.
Yeah. Kind of a question that I get often talking to students, and something that I was really worried about was making friends. You will find your group of people, you will make amazing friends and long-lasting friendships, guaranteed.
One thing that I was always worried about was like time, and then also being able to actually get the work done that school is giving you and do the things that, like, as someone that enjoys a lot of different things, being able to do a lot of different activities in college. And it's definitely possible here. There's lots of different opportunities, and I was just so happy with how my professors have helped me and are helping me, especially freshman year, like getting acclimated. They help you understand how to do the work, and then also help you beyond that. Like Gianni was saying, that even now they're still your friends, still trying to help you out. And I mean, I have professors who gave me their phone number this year because they're like, if you have anything that's wrong with online, like here's my number. And I'm just amazed at how kind and helpful the teachers are here.
Yeah, I'd say like one thing to really capitalize on your time here is make a lot of connections. Like, you go to college, of course, for your classes, first and foremost, to get that degree in your hand, to get all those incredible experiences, but the people you know will change your life. And because of the people that I've met, including my professors, my life is completely different than I thought it was going to be. And I'm not kidding, like, my career has changed. Like, my career opportunities have changed because of the professors that I met and because of my peers. Like I said, I founded a company, and one of the people that I'm collaborating with was one of the students I met. And so it's just like, really take advantage of every single person you meet in a good way, that is.
Good. Well, thank you all so much to our student panel for sharing your experiences. We are so happy that you were able to join us tonight to do that. For all of you that are attending right now, if your question was not answered, we will connect with you once this is over and get you an answer. So thank you all to our student panel. We will see you all at another time. We are now going to introduce our Associate Director of Admissions, Miss Victoria Webster Perez. She is here to tell you what the next steps are. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Alexis. Hi, guys. I am so excited to talk with you today. This has been such a fun evening. I am so energized. I love hearing from our students. It just makes me so excited to hear the impact that a Stetson education has had on them. But before we get started, I have a question for you guys. All right, guys, can you send the poll out? I'm super curious. Who here has the entire college application process figured out? I want to know. We got a full house, so tell me. Who's got it down? Who's ready to write a book and publish it and tell the whole world how the college application process goes? All right, I'll give you a second. I know you're debating your answers. Lots of choices, lots of choices. Super curious. Oh man, you know, I have a feeling you guys are going to surprise me with this one. Based on the questions I've been asked by parents, by students, I think I've got a few pros out there. I'm pretty pumped. All right, so looking at the results, I'm curious, how many of you are writing books for me? Oh, wow, 11% of you. Okay, 61% feel pretty good. You're figuring it out. You're coming together. 28% need my help. All right, well, guys, I'm here to answer that call. I am ready to walk you through the process. So let's jump right in. If we can move the slide forward, I really want to talk to you about the process as a whole. I know in the room tonight, I've got a mixture of some underclassmen. I've got some high school seniors. I've even got some potential transfer students. So first things first, let's talk application. You have two options. You can apply through the Stetson application, which is hosted right on our website, or you can apply through the Common application. The big thing I like to point out to you is they're the same to us. So whichever one is easiest for you, makes you feel the most comfortable, we are good with either of them. I always like to point that out, that we don't prioritize one over the other. Whichever one is the easiest for you and your family, that's the one we want you to go with. For those of you looking at coming to Stetson with transfer credits, I always want to distinguish between a transfer student and a first time in college. You are considered a transfer student if you graduate high school and then do college credit post high school graduation. So whether you start at a community college, you start at a state university, you start at another school, and you're looking to come to Stetson, that classifies you as a transfer student. If you receive college credits while in high school, but don't attend any college after graduation, you know, you're applying directly to Stetson, that counts as a first time in college student, even if you have a full associate's degree awarded while in high school. If you do dual enrollment, you would still be considered a first time in college. So really quick, with both cases in consideration, we do need all official transcripts. If you're a transfer student, we need both your college transcripts and high school transcripts if you have less than 30 credit hours through your college experience. For first time in college, we need at least your official high school transcripts. And then if you've done any college credits, International Baccalaureate, AP, any of those ACE credits, we need to see those as well. Typically, they're included on your high school transcripts. For both transfer students and first time in college, we need an essay or a graded paper. Now, I point this out because a lot of you have probably seen on the Common App, there's a ton of essay prompts. I'll be honest with you, that's not my most authentic writing. I tend to write a little bit cliched when it's a prompt because I feel like, oh gosh, what do they want to hear? What do they want to know? Let me write what I think they want to read. At the end of the day, guys, we want to see you authentic. We want to see what you consider to be your best writing. So what I tell students is if you've had a class where you loved it, you enjoyed it so much in high school or dual enrollment class, and you're really proud of a paper that you maybe submitted, I want to see that as your writing sample. So for example, I actually reviewed a student last year who took an AP history class and wrote a paper on the Civil War that they were very proud of. They got amazing remarks from their professor. That's the kind of paper that I want to see. So I always point that out. You can do that in lieu of doing an essay using one of the prompts. Now, for first time in college students, we also want to see at least one letter recommendation, ideally two. One thing I point out is it can come from a counselor or teacher, but it can also come from a coach. So if you play a sport and your coach knows you really well, we love to see those letters. They talk about your work ethic, your perseverance, your drive. Those are great letters of recommendation. Also, if you've had it like a summer job or a part-time job and your employer can talk about your work ethic and character, those are great too. Basically, our golden rule is it can't be a family member. I hate to break it to you, mom and dad are going to say great things about you. They're a little bit biased, so it can't be a direct family member who writes your letter of recommendation. But outside of that, teachers, counselors, employers, coaches, we love to see letters from them. And then I do point out we are test optional. That's not just in response to COVID-19. We've actually been test optional for several years. While the SAT and ACT can be great at displaying academic ability, they don't encompass it for all people. I'm the first one to tell you I have test anxiety. I had horrible test anxiety in high school. The SAT and ACT did not represent my academic ability. So what I tell students is you can make the decision as to whether or not you want to submit them, and we will evaluate with or without them based on your consideration. Now, I did see a couple of questions coming in there about our GPAs. For the college GPA, typically they don't weight credits in college. So the average GPA you see there for transfer students is an unweighted GPA, only because typically at the collegiate level, there aren't weights on those courses. For the high school, the average high school GPA you see there, it is a weighted GPA average. So keep in mind any honors classes, AP, IB, ACE, dual enrollment, any of those where your school provides a weight to them, we do recognize that weight, and that does influence our GPA here. Now, keep in mind, you see our mid-range test scores there. Again, we are test optional, so it is completely your choice if you want to submit them. Typically, I tell students if you're within that range, it's a good idea to include them. If you're concerned or you're unsure, typically, I always tell students, what do you feel is the best representation of your academic ability? If you feel like your high school transcripts really showcase your talent and the SAT or ACT doesn't, don't stress. We're completely test optional for consideration. Now, moving on, I want to talk to you about the different ways that you can apply to Stetson. So we actually operate under what are called decision plans, and we have 4 different options to choose from. We have early decision, early action 1, early action 2, and regular decision. Now you can see the deadlines there. Early decision and early action 1 both have a deadline of November 1st for both the application and getting your financial aid, your FAFSA, into the university. The reason for this is for both of these, we want to do an evaluation and make an admissions decision as quickly as possible to get that information back to you. We are actually planning to release admissions decisions for early decision in mid to late December, and for early action within the very first couple of weeks of the new year. For early action 2, you have until January the 15th to get your application and materials into us, and we're hoping to release decisions in early February. For regular decision, you have until March 1st, with us releasing decisions at the end of March or early April. Now, something very important to note is that if you want to apply for any of our premier scholarships, so I would say those are the additional scholarships outside of the traditional academic scholarship consideration, you do need to apply either early decision or early action, as we need to have your materials in early enough for those scholarship committees to meet over the holiday break and start releasing decisions. Now, I do want to point out that early decision is a binding commitment. If you're accepted to Stetson, we're expecting you to come. We're super excited to have you. Keep in mind that early decision, if you are accepted under that program, there are quite a few benefits associated with it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about those benefits, because in addition to being, of course, considered and getting your admissions decision back early, there are a lot of perks to early decision. So first things first, you're going to find out early. I know for me, when I was applying to college, the biggest stress was the waiting game. And there are quite a few universities out in the country that hold their decisions until a set date late in the spring, and you just spend the entirety of your senior year kind of stressing. At Stetson, if you apply early decision, you will have your decision back before the end of the holiday break, which for you and your family, that could be a big deal, because that means the opportunity to go and visit over the holidays, to plan a trip over spring break. You won't have to deal with the stress of waiting. You will get your decision back first out of our cohort. In addition to that, you'll actually get early access to class registration. That's a huge deal. As an incoming freshman, you'll get a week advanced access to picking out your fall classes. So definitely lets you pick out your top choices. Typically, you're going to get your #1 freshman seminar choice. You'll get your top courses out of the course selection because you kind of get a little bit of a head start on everyone. In addition to that, you have the ability to do 2 things with our residential living and learning. You actually get the ability to move in a day early. That's huge. You actually get the ability to move in a full day before the rest of the incoming student population, which means you get to take it easy. It's kind of self-paced. You can slowly bring your stuff in. You get to relax as you get in there. It really kind of takes the stress off because you get a day ahead and you can really be settled in by the time everybody else is getting there. In addition to that, you'll also have the ability to select your room. That's a big deal. There are 32 different styles of housing here at Stetson. So that ability to make a room selection, and depending on where we are, if you can have a roommate, the ability for you and your roommate to go in and select the room in your building of choice is awesome. You know, if you're like me and you need quiet spaces, you can actually pick a room that's maybe on the back of the building to make sure that you're in a quiet area. And as Naisha said earlier, we do actually have quiet floors. So if that's really important to you, you can choose a room specifically in those places. Now, another thing that's really important about early decision is we will do priority financial aid packaging. This is essential because for a lot of people, understanding their financial picture, understanding their scholarships, understanding need-based aid is pivotal to making a decision. We promise that early decision admitted students will get their results back and they will receive the best scholarship that we can provide. So we are promising to meet them with the best offer possible. So that way they have that information and they can make a very informed decision. Now, keep in mind our early action 1 and 2 students, as well as regular decision, will also, of course, get their scholarship information, but early decision will receive it first because they will be the first cohort that's reviewed. Now, if you're a local student and you're thinking about commuting, maybe you're right down the street, I want you to know that there's a perk for you too. So even if you're not going to live on campus, we are going to throw in a 10 meal block for free into your packaging. So that means you don't have to run off campus to eat a meal. You can run over to the Commons. You can run over to BYOB, our little Chipotle style restaurant, and you can grab a meal on Stetson. And then I do want to point out, you do get a free parking pass for the first year. I know the students were talking about it earlier. You don't have to have a car. A lot of stuff is walking distance. But if you're thinking about bringing a car to go to those beaches or to go to Orlando, you can have a free parking pass for the entire first year. And then the last thing, and this is actually my favorite, you get assigned a certified strengths coach. So Stetson is a strengths finder school, which means that we work to identify your top skills and focus on how to enhance those to really improve your educational experience, your relationships with professors and classmates. You will get early access to a strengths finders coach before every other student here. So definitely something to look into if you're thinking about applying early decision. But moving on, I want to get going because I know it's been a long day. You guys are tired, probably ready for some food. So today you've participated in an open house. This has been awesome. But as a reminder, Stetson is open to visitors. We are doing private visits with families. We're also doing private Zoom sessions with your family. So if you and your parents maybe have some questions, maybe something personal you want to kind of talk through, we're doing private Zoom sessions every day, Monday through Friday. We can do them morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever's best for your family. We're also doing student hangouts. So you guys got a chance to hear from some students. We're also doing little Zoom hangouts where you can ask questions and really kind of get an unfiltered look at what it's like to be a student. And then coming up, we're going to be doing some financial aid seminars. So definitely bookmark stetson.edu/visiting to see all the different ways that you can visit the campus. Now, moving on. I know that's a ton of information. Follow us on social media, guys. I always joke around, it's not the old people like me running these accounts. I promise I don't even know how to operate Snapchat. It's a lot of times our students, our student employees, lots of sneak peeks into the student life. Our Instagram account actually has highlight stories that showcase a lot of our housing. So they give you private tours of our residence halls. Definitely check it out. But that being said, I want to give you guys a chance to ask me some questions. So I want to really quickly display our email address, but let's talk. Alexis, I think I matched you with energy. I don't know. I had a big cup of coffee. I'm feeling good. Won't sleep until 2. Let's do this. What are some questions we're getting?
Great, Victoria, great. So I'm actually curious, before we get into questions, Victoria, you did such an amazing job on the next steps on what you need to do to apply to Stetson. So I'm curious, we're going to drop a poll now to see how likely are you to apply? Have you already submitted your application because you know you're so ecstatic to come to Stetson? Are you currently working on your application? And Victoria gave you a little bit more information. Are you going to start your application soon because we know Victoria brought the energy and was so great? Or are you still weighing your options? And that's okay if you are. We just want to get that information on you. So Victoria, we have some questions. Our first question to you is for the GPA requirement. You said it's a 3.53. I think you were speaking of the transfer cumulative GPA. Is that weighted or unweighted?
So I did touch briefly on that. So when it's a collegiate GPA, so when you're an actual transfer student, most colleges don't do weighted credit hours. They typically are on a 4.0 scale for most colleges. So a 3.53 college GPA is an average that we see coming in with transfer students. The high school GPA, though, is weighted because most high schools do offer weighted courses. So international baccalaureate, AP, dual enrollment. So I do point that out. The collegiate GPA is unweighted, mainly because most colleges don't have weighted credits. They're already at the collegiate level, so there isn't normally a step over that. At the high school level, though, that is a weighted GPA, taking into consideration honors, AP, dual enrollment. So definitely, I'm glad you asked about that because I do want to point out the difference. When we're reviewing your high school transcripts, if your school doesn't do a weight, we will give you a weight to make sure that you receive credit for taking above average level courses. So great question.
Good, good. So students are asking if they are applying with the early action deadlines, when would they find out about any potential scholarship awarding?
Great question. So what we try to do is release the scholarship information pretty much shortly after the admissions decision. So what we're planning on doing, as long as your financial aid, your FAFSA, is into the school, we're planning on releasing those decisions probably, I would say, right at the beginning of January. That way you still get it with plenty of time to plan trips over spring break, trips to come out and visit, maybe even catch the end of the holiday break. We do recommend, of course, in addition to doing the FAFSA, doing your CSS profile. I point that out because for a lot of families, they have been impacted by the pandemic. And one thing you'll notice is when you do the FAFSA, it's based on your prior year's tax information, which might not reflect your current family situation. So we definitely suggest doing both. That way, our financial aid office has a full picture of the family situation and can offer the best scholarship and the best need-based aid right on the front end. So to make it easier for yourself to make sure that you get the majority of the information as much as we can, we really recommend having both the FAFSA and the CSS profile in by the time that your application comes to the university.
Cool, cool. So I know that we are a test optional school and you did speak about us being test optional, but we do have some students asking, how much do SAT and ACT scores affect your chances of being accepted at Stetson?
So that's a really good question. You know, a lot of people don't realize that we actually do what we call a holistic application review, which means we sit down and we read everything in your application. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I had a student last year submit an 88-page autobiography as part of their writing sample, and I read it. It took me 4 hours. It was beautiful. It had photos, it had an index, it had poetry. I was really impressed. We read everything. So what I tell students is, yes, we do take it into consideration. If you submit it, we are going to look at it as an example, as representation of academic ability, but it's also factored in how you did in high school, what types of classes you've taken, what type of clubs and activities you've been involved in. What do your letters of recommendation say? Do they say, wow, you know, Christina just was involved in everything and she helped start these clubs? We take all of that into consideration. So if you do ask us to review your test scores, we will look at them and they will play a part in our decision, but they're certainly not an end all be all. So if you submit them and you're like, man, I think I shouldn't have done that, maybe it wasn't the best score. If the rest of your active application looks great, you're fine. You're fine. It's going to be considered, but it's not going to be the end all be all, the number one consideration of our decision. Good question.
Yeah, I love when you talk about those things as well. So we do have some students asking about early decision, and we know that it is binding, but we have some students asking for you to remind them of the deadline for accepting, if there is a deadline for accepting the early decision offer.
That's a great question. So early decision, when you decide to apply that way, you know that you're committing to coming to Stetson if you're accepted. So when you do receive a notification and you get the congratulations, you've been accepted to the university, you actually have 2 weeks to respond and pay your deposit for the class. So that is something that's very important to consider. We recommend applying early decision if Stetson is your #1 choice, because if you are accepted, you are committed to coming and you are required to withdraw applications at other schools. So again, we strongly recommend it if Stetson's your #1 choice, because there are so many benefits associated with it. You do get a lot of perks, but you want to make sure that it is your #1 choice. If you're unsure or Stetson is in your top 3, go early action. It's non-binding. You still get a decision back early, and you'll still be able to make an educated decision and not feel pressured, not be at the end of the spring. You'll have plenty of time to make an educated decision.
Well, yes, I love the fact that we're not rushing you to make a decision, but that is some things to do that. So kind of going back to the CSS profile and the FAFSA, some families are asking if the financial situation has not changed since last year, do they still need to submit the CSS profile, or will the FAFSA be sufficient?
So if you are applying early decision, we need both, because we are promising to meet you with the best financial package possible. So we do need to have insight into the family situation. What I always tell people is the FAFSA is kind of like looking at the cover of a book. It gives you a good synopsis. It tells us a little bit about the family. The CSS profile opens the book a little bit so we can better understand the family's need. In order to offer you the best package on the front end, we need to fully understand the family's dynamic. So we want to make sure that every family that needs to be considered for need-based aid has that opportunity. So we do ask under early decision that you submit both. We do need both. Under all the other action plans, only thing that we have to have is the FAFSA, but we strongly recommend doing both. I tell families the FAFSA takes about 20 minutes. The CSS profile takes less than an hour. If it maximizes your potential aid, it's time well invested. So definitely for early decision, we have to have both. For the other ones, we have to have the FAFSA if you want to be considered for need-based aid, but we recommend both to give us the best picture of your situation.
Good. Victoria, thank you so much for giving us the next steps. For anyone whose questions were not answered, we will touch back out to you and let you know. But hey, everyone, we want you to have the rest of your evening. We want you to be able to have dinner. We are so grateful and thankful that you were able to join us today at our open house. If you do have any questions that you were not able to ask in the chat, please email us at admissions@stetson.edu. My name is Alexis Glenn. As an admissions recruiter, I'm so grateful and thankful that you guys were here. That is Miss Victoria Webster Perez. And the last thing we have to say to you all is go Hatters and have a great night and stay safe.
Woo, go Hatters.